Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I am thankful to the organizers of today's webinar, particularly the Higher Institute of Higher Education in Herat. I'm pretty much happy that today we are having this very much important event today and very much important webinar for today. Why this webinar today is very much important? Because right now, as the moderator mentioned, that Afghanistan are experiencing the peace process as well as the peace negotiation, which is going on in Afghanistan and across the world, particularly in Qatar. So I think the duty of each and every of us, particularly the Afghans and regional countries, professors and around, our duty is this, that we have to talk as much as we can about the peace process, about the negotiations, about the peace and the concept itself, because it would help a lot to pressurize the both parties, the Afghan government as well as the Taliban negotiators, to come to the peace and start sincerely the negotiation itself. As probably all of us know, that today's topic, the webinar topic, is about the peace talk in Afghanistan, fears and hopes. What I'm talking about is, unfortunately, I'm trying to talk about much more about the fears. I mean, of course, each and every Afghan in the society are very much, they are optimists about the future of the peace process. But me, myself, unfortunately, I'm having a lot of fears in my mind rather than hope. And why it is so? So that is why my topic of speaking for today is about peace negotiations, cultural barriers, and the role of military-industrial complex in it, that make fears, that make us to not have a lot of hope about the future of the peace negotiations. So let me start about, first of all, what does it mean when I'm talking about role of military complex as a barriers in front of the peace negotiations. Let me start by President Eisenhower, when in his farewell party, when he was talking about the future of the United States, he warned from the role of military industrial complex and its effect on United States security as well as foreign policy. Because military complex or military industrial complex, they are producing armaments and arms. So they are influencing the mind of the politicians in order to start a war in anywhere. And after that, they will start, purchasing from them, and their pockets will be filled by this kind of money. So that is why, according to him, there are a lot of, you can see that the war around the world is because of all this. In Afghanistan also, what I'm trying to say is, unfortunately, the peace process is going to be, there are some obstacles will be put on the peace negotiation because of this mindset and the concept that someone are thinking that the war is acting like as a business for them. That war became as a business for them. It is there in the rank of the Taliban, even the higher leadership also, as well as here in another parts, the Afghan government. So there are certain elements inside that due to this war and a business, certain benefits are coming for them. So there are certain people and elements are there would not allow this peace negotiation come to be succeeded. So whatever I'm trying to say is this, that it is not in one side, it is in both sides, the Taliban ranks as well as the officials in Afghan government. There are certain people who are benefiting from this war and would not allow, unfortunately, that this kind of peace process to get succeeded. What I'm trying to say is this, that we all, our duty is this, that to talk about. But unfortunately, what I'm trying to say is that when we talk about the Afghan peace process, they are much more, the out-in approach when they are analyzing the peace process. That They are giving a lot of weightage to the external forces, particularly the regional countries, the world politics, and all. They are saying that they are who are putting obstacles on the way of the peace negotiation. What I'm trying to say, and I have said also, I am having much more the in-out approach. I mean that we Afghans, what we are trying to do. I mean that what is our role in it? Which element of us putting obstacle on the way of the peace? So that is why what I'm trying to say is much more in-out approach, which is much more I'm emphasizing on the internal factors or internal elements. And the second point is, what I'm trying to say is there are certain cultural barriers between two parties and would not allow them to start a negotiation sincerely. What does it mean by cultural barriers? When I'm talking about cultural barriers, I have to talk about cultures. I mean the role of the norms, the role of tradition, the role of socialization that the both parties have undergone. They will influence on the mind of the leadership, and they will put an obstacles on their way that the negotiation should not be ended in a proper way. So let me talk that when I'm talking about the culture and cultural barriers, let us talk about the two parties, from which background, from which context they are coming, from which culture they are coming. Both parties, when I'm talking about, is the Taliban in one side and the Afghan government in the other side is. You probably know that there are a lot of books and articles have written about the Taliban, and mostly they have gone to their context, to the context that they came from, which I'm trying to say that the Taliban, they are coming from the context, from the cultural background of religious madrasas, from religious community. They're believing in that, as well as they are coming from the village background or from the rural areas with a particular tradition in their mind, from a particular ideology. So after that, this kind of backgrounds and this kind of culture, of course, would have a lot of influences on their behavior when they are behaving in the table of negotiation. So in other side, when I'm talking is this, the Afghan government or the Afghan ranks or the Afghan negotiators. You probably saw it that there are a lot of youth which are part of these negotiation teams from the Afghan government. So their background is completely different from the Taliban. Their social process, their socialization process have done in a different way than the Taliban. Their socialization process is the university from the urban area, living in democracy and all, but the opposite side is completely thinking in a different way. So when they're coming on the table, this culture will become as a barrier for them. So let's just talk that in which area, when we imply these cultural issues in the when we apply this culture in certain issues, so how we can come to know that this cultural barrier is making problems. For example, what I have said to you is that, for example, these two cultures have two different concepts and ideas about the political system, about the future. One is demanding that it has to be Islamic one. The Sharia law should play an important role, but opposite side is thinking completely different. So it is coming from their background, it is coming from their idea, from their socialization process. And of course, this cultural background also would affect on the issue of the war. Both sides would think differently about the war. About the peace also, they are having differently because of these cultural backgrounds that they are having it. And most important is that about their ideas about the human rights. This is very much important issues. I mean that the Afghan negotiation teams are believing firmly on human rights, but on the opposite side, it is unfortunately completely different. When I'm talking about the human rights, particularly women rights out there, and the rights of the minorities in the country. In the case of ethnic minorities as well as the religious minorities. So why they are thinking differently? Again, I'm trying to emphasize it is because of their background, because it was because of their socialization process and believing in certain culture that I have mentioned. Again, this kind of cultural background would affect on the mindset of both sides regarding the issue of nation building. Afghan government are very much believing that this nation should be inclusive one, but the other side is unfortunately thinking differently. Again, in the case of civil society, giving the role for civil society in the politics, again, the government side would give a lot of weightage to that because they are believing in democracy and liberal democracy and all, but the opposite, again, opposite side, which are the Taliban, are thinking differently. Particularly in the last, which is very much important, is this that about the role of medias, particularly the freedom for the medias. You know, when we're talking about civil society, when we're talking about the democracy, media is playing an important role, and it has to be as much as possible. They have to have freedom. But the Afghan government, till that time, from 2000 till now, onwards, they are to some extent did not put some limitation on the freedom of the media, but you can see from the Taliban statement that again they are having differently. So they want to put some limitation and even warn some media. You probably know that a lot of media men started to flee from this country because of these threats and all that they are hearing from. So that is why what I'm trying to say is that, again, I want to conclude because the moderator have said that we do not have, I think, 15 minutes, much more than that. And after that, probably we are having a question and answer. And if there would be any questions, I would welcome to answer to the questions. But in the end, I'm trying to say that what is my suggestion? What is my suggestion for the peace negotiation, that we should come out from this fear and we should have increase the weightage of the hope. My suggestion is this first. First suggestion that I want to share with audiences is this, that we must have a deadline, a timing for a negotiation. Afghanistan should not remain in the negotiation. This negotiation without a deadline, this negotiation without the timing would bring a disaster and fatal consequences from Afghanistan, because people do not know what will happen for their future. There are brain drain in the country. People are leaving the country. Businessmen do not know what to do in the country because people are talking about the peace negotiation and all. Look at what kind of things, what will be the consequence of this negotiation. You probably know that this timing extended as much as you can imagine. This is going to be 1 year and much more than that. That the negotiation started and there's no consequences, there's no result for that. So what I'm suggesting is this, that there should be a particular deadline, a particular deadline and a particular timing. And people should know that either they have to stand with the Taliban or no, they have to stand with the government. They want to choose the peace, or they want to choose the war, because people should come to know about all this issue. And this, okay, this is the last one. The last sentence which I'm trying to say is this. But the last is that the country, what I have mentioned is this, that there are certain elements in both sides which are thinking the war or defining the war as a business for themselves. The international communities and the local, the NGOs and all the media should pressurize these elements in both sides in order to lead this kind of mindset and should not think the war as their business. So I'm so sorry because of this time limitation, and I could not. There is no time to speak much more about this. So what I mentioned that we are having the time in the case of question and answer, and there will be an opportunity that I will share much more about the topic that I have shared with you. Thank you so much.